I have finished carving my block. So what I'm starting to do is I'm gonna cut off the excess. So I'm going around with scissors and cutting along the edge, just like that. And again, if you guys can't see, come towards me so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm cutting off all of my extra edges so I can just have my printing plate. And so this is my block now. And with these, we'll just, do you think we should trash these or save these?
I don't think we can recycle, so let's just
We're gonna
trash.
trash them. So you're gonna throw them in the trash when you're done with them, put your scissors back, and then over in our print area, you guys are going to find, there's a stack of kind of thin colored paper. It's thin and it's newspaper, colored paper. This is called newsprint. You're not gonna want these smaller ones, but you're gonna want a big piece of this, and you're gonna bring it back to your table. And this is going to be called a proof. So, oh, thank you. So a proof print is like a practice print. It's something that you print to see if you've carved out everything you want to carve out, if your image looks how you want your image to be, or how you want your image to show up in the end, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do is practice the tile orientation. So remember, we're printing this 4 times. So you're going to want to practice marking the center of your paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, line it up on the edge, and this paper is 12 inches wide, so I'm going to take a 2H pencil. These are up here. H means hard, so that means that it's going to draw really lightly. And so you don't have to worry about really harsh pencil lines in the middle of your image. So what I'm doing is I'm going to mark the center on the top and the bottom, just like this. This is actually a 4B, which is perfect. There we go. And I'm going to, so I just marked the center on the top and on the bottom, and I'm going to put my ruler to the side and connect those lines to find the center of my paper vertically, and we're going to do the same thing going the other way. So this paper is a little bit longer than your final paper, so we'll do, I'm going to do about 8. You can do in the center, and then you're going to do another line and connect those together so you can find the center of your paper. You're going to use this center point to print around. So you can see, you won't be able to see probably from where you're sitting, it's really light, but you do want it to be pretty light because you want to be able to go back and erase it and for it not to show up in your final print. And then you're going to figure out where the center of your block is and place that down, and then grab a Sharpie and draw an arrow pointing inwards. So you're always going to print with your arrow pointing to the center, okay? So that you don't mess yourselves up. So it's always going to print like this, okay? And so once I have that figured out, I'm going to put my pencils and my Sharpie and my ruler back for now. And I'm going to go over to our printing area, which the printing area is going to be back over here, over by the door.
You all come over here.
Come on over. You guys can't see. I know you can't, so come
We're
on.
positive you can.
Sweet. Okay, so I've laid out my paper, and my next steps are going to be to find a soft brayer. Soft brayers are going to be in the printing cabinet, okay? The printing cabinet's on the right. They're gonna be in this box right here. And one thing that's really important about these is you always want to lay them on their backs like this, okay? You don't, think of it like a baby. You want to lay it on a nice, you don't want its head to be smushed like this, or else its head will get flat on one side.
If you have a flat head, your mom laid you on your back.
Yeah. Make sure your baby's head is held up and nice and round, okay? Because if you get a flat side, you'll notice when you go to use the brayer, your ink is gonna go on really blotchy and funky, and you don't want that. So you're gonna get yourself a brayer and get yourself a ink plate. These are it's the metal version of the wooden ones you guys have been carving with. You're gonna place that down and it acts just the same. It's gonna latch onto the side of the table, just like that. And you're going to pick out your ink. I don't know where the other tube went. But I'm using black today. They also can come in jars like this. And if you're gonna use a jar, there are spatulas in here so you can scoop it out and apply it onto the thing. And you also wanna grab one of these just in case you put too much ink into your ink plate. I'll show you how that works. So once I have that and that, I also will wanna grab what I'm going to be printing with. We have the option of a brayer. We only have one spoon so far. We might get some more spoons. But we have a spoon and a baron. Sorry, I think I just called it a brayer. Baron. Baron, spoon, brayer. Okay? So, in my print area, I'm gonna set up my printing tools to my left. I'm gonna set up my ink right here with my block in between my paper and my plate. And before I start printing, I'm gonna go into the carving cabinet and grab a telephone book. And with this, you guys grab out a couple pages. It doesn't matter if they're pretty or cute or anything. You just wanna protect the surface, okay? So you wanna put them down underneath your block, just like that, okay? And these will also be handy for cleaning. You guys will see that in a second. I'll show you too. So now that I have my area all set and ready to go, I'm gonna grab my ink and I'm going to squeeze it out onto the top of my printing plate. You want it to be about as wide as your brayer. So that fits right there like that. And always make sure to tighten the ink lids back on real good. You don't want these drying out. And so now I have my ink on my plate. I'm gonna take my brayer, I'm gonna tap it into the ink, and then I'm going to roll down here. And think of this as your inking area. This is your ink plate, okay? You're gonna go up, and if you notice, I'm not going back and forth. I'm only rolling away from me. That way, the ink is getting all over the surface, okay? So I'm rolling away from me one direction, and I'm rolling away from me the other direction. Okay. And it's okay if you roll towards yourself like this. You just don't want to constantly be going, you don't want to do this. Don't do this. You want to go up and up and up and up. And the texture you want to see on your plate should look like the peel of an orange. So if all you guys, we'll start here, do like a conveyor belt. Come around, or I'm gonna snake around and I want you to look at this texture, okay? That's what it should look like.
So when you're inking up your roller or your brayer is what it's technically called, the reason she went and stopped is because she did 360. She stopped at 360. If you keep on going back and forth, you're gonna get too much ink in one place.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like right now. So this is ideal what you want. You can also hear, it's a little sticky, but it's not too sticky.
Okay, I hope that everyone that's not watching the demonstration has 0 questions, because you're getting 0 questions answered from us.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like if there's too much ink and what to do if you have too much ink on your plate. So I'm gonna get a lot of ink on here and put it down in my printing area. And you're gonna notice, you're gonna get these lines and it's gonna be really thick. So if I notice I have too much in my inking area, I'm gonna take my spatula and scrape some of that off. And then you can just put that back at the top of your inking plate. And now when I go back in, and I go back this way, and I go back this way, I can still see there's a little too much ink. I don't have that orange peel texture. It's really thick still. You can scrape off a little bit more, put it at the top, and then go back in, spread out your ink. And then back to that orange peel texture. And once I have this texture, I'm going to roll it onto my plate. And notice how I'm applying the ink and then rolling. And then I'm applying the ink and then rolling. You don't want to roll back and forth on your plate because you're just gonna pick the ink back up. And then you won't have a solid amount of ink. And you wanna do this a few times, and you'll notice because the brayer is not the exact size of this, you'll have a couple lines. We'll call those lap lines because like one layer would be one lap and then another layer can overlap. So it's a lap line. So to avoid those, you just go over those areas. And the thing with printmaking is it's going to be different for everybody. 2 rolls and a swipe might be good for one person, and then 4 rolls and then 3 swipes might be good for another person. It's all up to your guys' own printing needs. But once you have this all figured out, you're going to place your roller down on its back. You're going to take your plate and you're going to find that center point and your arrow in the center point, and you're going to line up your block just like this. And then you're going to grab a piece of telephone paper, put it over your block, take your baren or your spoon, and you're going to press. And you want to use a good amount of your weight, so if you want, you can move this towards you so you can really lean forward and press down. The other thing with this ink, because it is water soluble, at least specifically the speedball stuff we're using right now, we should be getting some more ink soon, but this ink does dry pretty quickly. So you do want to move pretty quickly. And if you have to reset your ink plate in between, you'll just want to save the ink that's at the top of it. So that felt good to me. I'm going to put my baren to the side, take off that paper, and then peel back my block. And so now I have one corner of my tile. Voila. And so what you're going to do is you're going to repeat this process by dipping in the ink, creating your ink area. I can tell I need some more ink, so I can grab that bit there. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time on the paper. And again, load up your brayer with the ink, roll it onto your block, but try not to go back and forth. And I can already tell that this ink is drying on me a little bit, so it might not be the most solid print. But again, I'm going to take my block, take my arrow, point it towards the center, hold that down, grab my telephone book paper, my baren, and I'm going to press. And with printing, it's all, like, do you guys know what variables are in science? So variables in like a science experiment are the different parts of the experiment itself. And you can kind of think of printmaking like an experiment. Every time, depending like on how hot it is outside, maybe your ink will dry faster and you have to use more ink. Or maybe your arms are sore from your workout yesterday, so you have to press it more times. Like every time is going to be a little different, and the variables are going to be different for everybody. And so I'm going to peel that back. No, that's a more solid one, actually.
Ah.
Oh.
And the first print, your linoleum. Yeah, go ahead.
So I should have mentioned this before, but first prints on linoleum, as you can tell, my very first preprint is really light compared to the second one because the linoleum absorbed the ink. So before I put ink on my linoleum block, it was fresh. It was just a fresh block of linoleum. And when you put ink on a fresh block, it's going to absorb some of it. And once it's absorbed in there, it will create a smoother printing surface. Okay, so that's why my second one came out a bit darker, because it has that smooth printing surface now. And so right now, my ink plate has dried up because that's just how long it takes to dry. So this is part of the process. There's gonna be a lot of going back and forth and washing and drying. And so what I like to do is if I have any excess ink on my brayer, I'll take the newsprint or telephone book paper from under my block, and you can roll it off onto it. And once that's all dirtied up, you can toss these in the trash, and then you'll grab your plate, your brayer, and your spatula. And I would say your block too, yeah. I'm gonna show you guys how to wash your block as well. But all of this goes over to the sink area. And like I said, I call this the ink plate reset. This can be in the middle of your printing day, or it could be at the end of your printing day. Don't think of the cleanup as the end of the line. You're gonna have to clean up more than you think, okay? So, and to clean it, it's super easy. It's just water. You can use a little bit of soap if you want to, but it's really just water soluble ink. Gonna rub it down. And for drying, we're not gonna be using paper towels. We're gonna be using the towels that are hung over by Asper, in front of Asper right there. Those are gonna be your guys' friend. So once you have each of your elements cleaned out, you're gonna stack them up.
And you guys, drying off your tools is really important. So think about this. All your tools are metal. If you don't dry them off, they will rust. Okay? So don't just rinse them off and put them on top of the sink, because I know how y'all do. You think your mama's coming through, but she's not.
Not going to. And you do also want to dry it really well, because if this is just a reset for you and you go back to your plate and you have any water everywhere, it's going to get your paper wet, and then you might have to restart your print. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, you're going to clean all this out, wipe that down. Okay. And I'm noticing that I didn't clean my spatula well enough, actually. Can anyone tell me how many sides there are of a spatula? Any guesses? Two. Good guess. It is wrong. Because there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Pretty crazy. It blew my mind when I found out too. So when you're washing it, you want to wash 1, 2, 3, 4, and the top. Okay? Because you want to be thorough, because let's say somebody used a spatula for black ink and then you went to go use it for yellow or white. It's going to muddy up your color. It's not going to be nice. So that's why it's really important to clean up after yourself, because most of the things you're using are going to be used by somebody else. So now that I have these all washed off, I'm going to grab my towel and blot it down. And after you're done drying all of this, depending if you are doing a reset or doing like a full cleanup, will depend like how you clean that whole area. But my biggest thing with this is I shouldn't be able to tell that you were printing at the end of the day. It should look exactly how it looked when I came in the morning. So
leave no trace.
Leave no trace. Leave no trace. And if you don't know what leave no trace means, it's a thing in camping culture where if you go camping and at a campsite, you leave no trace. You don't want there to be any sign that there was any humans there. You want to stomp out your campfire, you want to pick up all your trash, you want to do what you gotta do, you know? Does anyone have any questions right now? Yes.
So you were saying that our printing block will suck in the ink after it washes. Will it still like have ink inside it or no?
It won't.
Okay.
And one thing that I am willing to experiment with this, because I've traditionally used oil inks in my practice, and so we always had to wash off our blocks with vinegar and a different solvent and everything. And then you kind of restart the process the next day. But depending how this acrylic ink dries down, it might be smart to leave it on there so it can create that like solid coat on there. So that might be something I experiment with the first 2 people that are printing, but just across the board, wash your block for now. Okay. Cool.
And one thing, since your blocks are wet, they're gonna dry, right? They're probably gonna curl a little bit. So you'll wanna put it in between paper, and if you have anything, you can put weight on it, so it dries.
Right. And we can bring out some heavy books, maybe. We have a couple heavy
Yeah.
books around. We can bring them out so that we can have a flat surface for them to dry on. Our goal is to get this painting unit finished up so we can have this area for you guys to use as well.
Yeah, we need you guys to be done painting.
Yeah, finish painting, guys. Do
Yeah.
it. Do it.
Yeah, a lot of you have been done painting for a while, yeah.